So a couple of things right off the bat. Number one, Glenn's screen looks very trippy. It looks like he's on a train.
No, that's
yeah, just trust me on this. It looks like he's on a train. Manchester City have unfortunately dismantled West Ham today, so that doesn't help. We've got the Arsenal airport to discuss today, potential arrivals and departures. I don't know. That just seemed like a fun little way to put it, the Arsenal airport. I don't know. And we finally got off the schneid with a win last night. London is, in fact, red for this season, despite us being second in the league, not first. It's been a little while, so let's get into it, shall we?
freeze.
How's it? Welcome back into the Loose Cannons. Why are you yelling?
Because I thought I did something wrong, because all I saw was a still screen, and I'm like, oh no, what did I do? And then you came back.
That's like I can't introduce it any better than that. It's just
Shut
Glenn.
up.
It's just, Glenn and his incoherent stoner ramblings. I've never been high in my life. I think we've all talked. I've never been high in my life.
So sorry.
Ryan, I think you have, if I'm not mistaken. He's high right now.
Yeah.
But I feel like maybe doing a show some day with the two of you just absolutely obliterated out of your minds would be a lot of fun. For me to just like sit and listen to would be tremendous. In
a little over a month, I'm going to see you in person for the first time, because I'm going to Pittsburgh to a Night of the Living Dead.
You look like you're on your way to Pittsburgh right now with that screen beside you.
Oh, so you know what? We'll make your little high thing when you and I meet face to face for the first time. All right.
I don't know what that means. You're gonna make me a little high thing.
Your show you were just talking about. Everybody's high.
Tanner, trust me. When you meet Glenn, you'll realize what he's talking about. It's I guess the kids these days call it a contact high.
Oh,
that's what I felt when I met Glenn.
Nice. Well,
in this contact.
All right, let's.
So fellas, it's been a little while, so let's get the niceties out of the way with. How are we, Ryan?
Yeah.
Everything good on your end?
Yeah.
Up in New Haven, Connecticut. I don't know if you're not in New Haven, are you?
No, I'm like 45 minutes from New Haven.
Okay. Glenn, you good?
Are we allowed to curse?
Yeah.
I've been fucking terrible since that Manchester City game.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, not literally crying, but crying inside.
I think you're crying.
Because something died inside of me.
Oh, here we go.
And it was over. I know there's a lot of people... Right. Oh, I'm doing the show. I'm sorry.
No, Glenn, this just in. We're doing a show.
Yes.
So by all means, go ahead.
I've been shitty. It's the way we all have our own coping mechanisms. Once we lost the City, and I knew for a fact it was over in my heart. I know there's some people that still believe. I went into my coping method. No football news, nothing. I watched the Arsenal-Chelsea game, nothing after that. This is the first thing I'm doing. I did drop on Twitter earlier today just to see what was going on. And I saw that Bellingham, a guy I was holding out hope for, I know he would have been too expensive, is going to, I don't know, he's going somewhere. What?
Real Madrid is the...
Yeah, that was it.
According to Fab Romano, I guess he's going to Real Madrid, which I'm not stunned at, and I'm not going to waste any more time on it because I never thought he was coming here. We have not been linked with him at all.
I'm actually happy about it because he was linked with you. He was linked with United. He was linked with City. He was linked with Liverpool. Like, this is besides him coming to us, this is the best case. And I don't think he was ever coming to us. No. This is the best case scenario.
I'm curious as to why, though. Why would we not be linked with a player like him? I mean,
too much money. He's not in the structure. He's not in the game plan. We're not going to
Yeah.
overpay for a player.
In terms of transfer fee or in terms of weekly
Both.
wage?
Both.
Fair.
Yeah.
All right.
Supposedly he's going to sign a deal that he's going to be there till he's like 26 years old or something like that. And I think Arsenal are going to do, I think it's what Liverpool said about Bellingham, which is we rather spend it on 2 or 3 players than one player.
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, I think – go ahead, Ryan.
No, and also, too, another reason why I'm happy it's Real Madrid is because, maybe we'll put in a little bit of a bid to Camavinga. Maybe Camavinga is going to be cheaper, and maybe he fits into our plan. So, that'd be interesting.
Did you give up on Declan Rice? I know you like him.
I'm just saying, like, it's if you're bringing somebody in around this, it's a similar position, like maybe he would be cheaper. I think Camavinga is a phenomenal player. I think if we can get him for cheaper than Declan Rice, this could be Caicedo, this could be a Mudryk all over again, where like everything's in place. Declan Rice is going to be twerking for us, and then next couple days later he signs for Chelsea. Bolich throws the.
Didn't he come up in Chelsea's academy? Declan Rice. Isn't he he's somehow like affiliated with Chelsea? Like he's.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Part of his younger days, like his academy days, I think he was in Chelsea's academy.
When he was a child, I think. I don't think like.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I know he came. I know he was in West Ham ranks like as a teenager or something, but I think he was anyway. Whatever.
Can I ask? Because Ryan was making fun of me because I've been depressed since the City game, except for the 2 hours against Chelsea, which was fun. What? So you still believe? You're making fun of me. You still believe?
I mean,
and
believe's a weird term. I mean, are we mathematically out? No, so it could happen. But am I like? Are we? Oh man, like these people are crazy. It's not like I'm like in between. Like mathematically, it's not over. So I'm not going to give up hope, but I'm also not going to be like talking all this shit. Again, I hate saying this because I had a talk with Mikey Hers, and I don't want to beat this drum because I feel like a lot of people are beating this drum because it's just a quick way to get likes. But I said we would get third place, and it goes back to I tweeted this a couple days ago, and I kind of laughed because he said that, and then I was like, oh, well, I kind of just tweeted something similar to that. But I said we would get third place preseason, and everyone laughed at me and thought I was crazy. And like I was like, dude, we're gonna compete. We're gonna make some moves. We're going to be better than people think. And I got laughed at. And now we're competing for the title and people like freaking out that it's over. It's like, well, third place was me being, I don't want to say generous, but I was like, I think if we're firing all cylinders, if injuries don't happen, I think third place is definitely something that we could achieve. Well, it's looking like second place with injuries is something we're going to achieve. So I think, we overachieved this season. So I'm happy, and my goal preseason is, Champions League. So I guess maybe I'm this season I'm too tunneled. Like I was always tunneled. I was always like, I don't care. The goal's Champions League. I don't give a shit. Like I want Champions League. I want us to be better. I want us to form a more cohesive group. I mean, there are a couple of things that I'm a little. I don't want to say. I mean, we'll get into it. I don't want to say upset about things that I think need to change for next season, and a lot of stuff that comes down to kind of Mikel a little bit, but. Yeah, I'm happy where we are. I'm happy that we're getting Champions League this season, and that was all I wanted. And that's it's official. We're gonna do that. So
Okay. I understand all that, and I understand your outlook of wow. I was hoping for third place, and it looks like we're gonna fit. Whatever. We got Champions League. That's the summer mentality for me. Right now, it still effing hurts. And I'm not going to deny that. And I tweeted this. I can love and support Arsenal, but I can also be intensely frustrated with them because that was men against boys. BG, do you think we still have a chance at the title? And I'm not taking over your hosting duty.
I love it. I actually love that you're asking questions, Glenn. So I love it. I go. If you've got questions, ask them. Ryan, what were you going to say? And then I'll answer.
No, I was going to say, I guess it comes down to the point that I see that's kind of selfish. I guess I never convinced myself that we were actually in the title. I never went down that road. It's like, oh, we're in first. It's great. It's amazing. But I never convinced myself like, oh my God, this is happening. Is this real? Yeah, maybe once or twice I was like, wow, like we're doing a lot better than I thought. Like 8 points clear, 5 points clear. This is great. But I guess just being, and this sounds kind of lame too, but being a fan of this club, knowing how we operate, knowing how we've been, which I know we're not the same old Arsenal, but I don't want to say expected it, but I didn't go down that road of us being Premier League champions, I guess.
Do I do still have hope. I was hoping today, the thing I get a lot of people at my job who see the Arsenal stuff in the bar and like to give me grief. Oh, dude came in the bar the other night. He's like, he wanted a beer that we have both in bottles and on draft. And he said, yeah, I'll have this, but I want it in a bottle. And I'm like, okay. I didn't get it at first. And he was, making fun of Arsenal bottling.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, and then he finally, I was like, okay, like I get it. It's in a bottle. Here you go. And I asked him, I was like, do you want a glass? And he's like, no. He's like, the bottle is fine. And then finally he explained, like, so here's my thing with this. Am I disappointed and frustrated? I'm disappointed. I don't think I'm frustrated. Not in the Man City game. That's not where the league, if we don't win the league, it wasn't lost there. The league was lost at Southampton earlier in the season when we drew them. It was lost at home drawing Southampton a couple of weeks ago. It was lost at the London Stadium to West Ham when we had a 2-goal lead. It was lost at Goodison Park when we lost to Everton. Or did we draw Everton? Lost to Everton this season. Though that's where it was lost. So that's what's frustrating. We're not as good. We're not as good as Manchester City. We're not as deep. As Manchester City. That's like when you look at I watched the entire game. I watched their entire match today. It is men among boys, but it's not men playing boys, Manchester City and Arsenal. It's Manchester City and the rest of the league. That team doesn't stop running. Here's where they're better.
They're lawyers. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean that aside, that's a different topic. They don't stop running. We stop running. I watched this yesterday. Stop running. When they get the ball and they want to play the way we play, they play a dominant possession-based type game, the same thing we do. But when they get the ball in transition, they don't fucking stop running. You get 3 players, their front 3 come at you in a wave. But then literally right behind them is their midfield coming in another wave. And all of a sudden you're overwhelmed. You're back 4 and your goalkeeper overwhelmed because you're now staring down the barrel of 6 of the best footballers in the world coming after you, knowing any one of them can get the ball and score at the drop of a hat. We stop running. We slow up to some. I've said this before. To like, are we trying to create a Sports Center highlight here? What? Why? Run, fucking run. I watched Bukayo Saka yesterday. Had two players. Now he was out wide. He had a player in front of him, and he had a center back behind that defender. That's it. Take on the guy in front of you and beat him, which you could have done. And he slowed. This was in the second half, and he slowed down, and he stopped running. Why? So the frustration, Glenn, to answer your question, the frustration doesn't lie in the Manchester City game. That's disappointment because the realization hit me that we're not there this year. And they proved it. But had we handled business elsewhere, we could have been there this year.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
So bottling the league, people say, oh, you bottled the league. I get it, but I don't. But Manchester City are also playing right now at a level, and God bless them, because they weren't playing this well earlier in the season. They found that champion gear when they needed to find it. We had that champion gear far too early in the season.
And City are known to do that. They're known to kind of drop a few measly points here and then the beginning of every season. And then in April, they're just like,
and then they turn
okay,
it on. Yep.
We need to like actually play. Okay.
We're done pissing around now. and they
exactly.
do it. And that's here's where, and I'll say this because Bronx Gunner playing for Pride now. Russ, good evening. Sorry about that. I missed you. I was on my rant. He said playing for Pride. I am unbelievably proud of the way that this team has played this season. Losing, it's not like we capitulated the league to Leeds. It's everybody said, "Oh, we had a 12-point lead, we had a 9-point lead," but everybody had games in hand. Yeah. City had games in hand. At the most, at our biggest gap in points, our biggest advantage, they had games in hand. So I'm proud of the way that this team has played this year and the steps that they have taken, because I agree with Ryan. My hope at the beginning of the season was top 4. I did say at the beginning of the season that we probably needed a run in the FA Cup and Europa League, and we needed to win at least one of those trophies and finish top 4. Losing out on a trophy this year sucks, and we are a better team than that. We should have won a trophy this season. So that's disappointing. Losing out on the league to Manchester City.
They're probably the best team in the world right now.
No one else in this league was going to do, and understand this.
Nobody else in any league in the world is going to. I genuinely think Man City are the best team in the world, and it's not even close. And I fully believe that. Yep. And they have a B. Like, they didn't even play their A squad against us, and they have a B squad that is probably the second best team.
Again, when you look at the players that they can bring in off the bench, these guys are starters anywhere else in the world. They walk into a starting 11 in damn near any other club in the world that they go to. So no other team in English football, and I'll agree with Ryan, I'll go the whole of Europe, are going to beat Manchester City for the league. They are going to do something at the end of the season, because I don't believe that they'll lose. I don't think that they'll drop points from now to the end. And you know what? You tip your cap to them. You say you've got the best team money can buy. But here's why I'm proud of my team, because we didn't spend the money on the players that are already developed. And now I'm going to go off on a spiel. Somebody jump in and shut me the fuck up, because otherwise I'm going to keep going. Give me a second.
Well, I want to give you a second.
Give me just this.
Okay.
One more thing, and this is why I'm proud of this team, because we developed these players. We have made these players what they are, most of them. Pep goes out, everybody sucks his dick. I'm not saying he's not a great manager, but he's a manager. He goes and he buys the players that they've already been developed. Someone already did his job for him and coached them up, developed them into these world-class players, and he goes and he poaches them and he brings them to Manchester City, and that's fine. I'm proud because I can look at my team and I can say, we built some of the best players in the world. We didn't buy them.
Sorry.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
That song is terrible. You should turn.
What? That song's awesome. Oh, Glenn. Oh,
geez.
Were you singing "We Built This City on Rock and Roll"?
Of course he was.
Okay. You know what? It's all subjective. I'm not going to argue with you guys.
Glenn, you really do look like you're on a train. Part of it is the screen moving. The other part of it is your tension.
I'm going to lower the camera.
No. It's fine. It's actually, now that I'm used to it, it's kind of a cool effect. But
okay,
anyway, that's why I'm super proud of my team. Glenn, go ahead.
Okay, real quick. I'll make this quick. All right. I talked about coping and how we all cope differently. You guys have compartmentalized all different parts of the, of what happened here at the end of the season, and you still kind of believe we have a shot. For me, I admire that. Okay, I can't believe it. I'm usually the guy trying to pep you guys up. I admire that. I really do. But when I hear Arsenal has title chances still this year, you just like Tom Hanks yelling for Wilson in the ocean. It's not alive. It's not coming back. Okay. Manchester City have to play Leeds at home. They're at Everton, Chelsea at home, Brighton away, and Brentford away. Arsenal, Newcastle at home, at Newcastle, Brighton home, Nottingham Forest, and Wolves. I didn't write home or away, so I don't know. But
it's away home, just FYI.
Oh, okay. So away, home against
Aha.
Brighton, away against Nottingham Forest, and they have something to play for. They don't want to get relegated. And then Wolves, whatever. I just don't see it in there. I've looked at it. I've tried to be like you guys. I know we're all different levels of, yeah, we still got a chance, but I can't, looking at that, I can't see it. And
I'm looking at it purely, Glenn, from a mathematical standpoint. We still
Yeah.
have a chance. Do I think it's going to happen? No.
See a game by yeah. It's in 10. I don't. Yeah, I expect to get second place, but
Yeah.
I again and Glenn, we talked about this. I'm lame. I'm taking everything game by game. I'm not even thinking about Wolves. Not even. I didn't even. I know we played Nottingham Forest twice already. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking toward Newcastle. It's gonna be a tough game in itself, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, to Russ Morgan's point, problem is I think this was a small. I don't. So what you're saying is you think that we still are we're still just a second-rate club. I don't buy that. I think this year was the step back into that top 2 or 3 of we're going to be in the conversation, and as long as our coaching staff is doing what they need to do. They're coaching the players up. They're developing young players, and they're creating world-class players. If we can supplement here and there with an already developed player, all the better. I think we're here to stay for a while. I think we're in this conversation now for a while. We're going to compete for the title. We're going to be in Champions League again. I think Arsenal have their, like Bronx Gunner said, we have our seat at the table again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this season they've proved that, and you guys, I'll talk a little positive. This season, I think Arsenal have proved they've taken the next step, as BG said. Arteta said this team has moved quicker than I thought we would. Blah blah blah. That's great. I have no problems with that. And I think Russ, the things you need to think about right now is not what they're going to do next season, because it's going to look completely different. And we're going to get some help in the summer. Hopefully some of these names that, every Arsenal fan are on board with, we'll get one of them. And things are going to look different. So don't worry about next year yet, Russ. Seriously.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, again, we're developing our young players. And we're going to supplement here and there with a Declan Rice. Declan Rice is a really good footballer. Ryan, brought up Eduardo Camavinga before. If that's there's and getting Champions League football again, just that boosts our budget. Finishing second in the league gives us, we haven't finished top 4 in how long? And the money that you get in the Premier League based on your final position. First place gets X amount of dollars. Second place gets a little less. Third place gets a little less. So we're getting more money than we've gotten in nigh a decade, right? So the players that the money we're going to be able to invest, and there are going to be outgoings this year, and I dare say there's probably going to be 1 or 2 that we're not going to like, that we're going to look at. We're going to say, shit, I really didn't want to see him go. But at the end of the day, I'll ask you this, and maybe this will be our segue, Ryan, into the departures and kind of some of the stuff that you had said you wanted to talk about. There was a report today that Reece Nelson had turned down the latest contract offer. Charlie Patino earlier in the week had said he wants to leave for more first team football. Emile Smith-Rowe is a name that has been out there. I mean, look, teams are going to come in and they're going to offer you money for players.
Yeah, I know you got to be ruthless. If Reece Nelson is stupid enough to not stick around, and I'm sorry, I love him, and I'll never forget, what he did for us. But damn it, have a little more patience. He refused the latest contract.
Well, but maybe the contract was lowball. Maybe they're offering him, maybe they're saying, look, you're going to be a reserve. You're not going to be, and again, we're talking about building a squad now. We're not talking about building a squad for Champions League 2 years from now. We're building a squad for Champions League next season. I like Reece Nelson. Reece Nelson has something you can't coach or teach, and that's pace. and I like what he brings off the bench. If he wants more first-team football like Charlie Patino does, I don't know how you – we're going to get mad. We get mad when other teams go out and buy players and we say all they're doing is chasing a championship. That's exactly what City do, right? The players that come to City, that's all they're doing. They're coming to City for the money and to chase a trophy. We lose players who say, I want to go play. I don't want to be mired in the reserves or on the bench. And we say, how could you possibly want to leave? It doesn't work. You can't have it both ways.
Arsenal are terrific, and Arteta especially. I can't believe I'm saying this. Arteta, look what he has brought out in Xhaka, of all people. That guy used to get a red card every 3 games. You stick around if you love a club, and fine, you got to be ruthless. I understand that. To compete in the Premier League, you got to be ruthless. All I was moaning about was I don't want to lose ESR. That's all I'm saying. You know, if he doesn't have the patience, what's his face? Let him go. Reece Nelson, let him go.
Glenn, you're forgetting one little minor thing. These players, this is their job. They're not. Oh, I walked out of the womb an Arsenal fan. I bleed red. Or London's red. A lot of these players, this is a job they get paid. And someone like a Reece Nelson, who I loved him in the academy. I was so excited watching him play in the U23s, and I was like, oh, he's gonna be so good. Well, I think at that point it was the U23s. I was like, oh, I'm so excited. And but at the end of the day, if Reece Nelson has a choice, am I gonna make a better career for myself, or am I gonna make a better decision as far as Arsenal's concerned? I'm like, essentially what I'm saying is he more worried about himself or the club? And this is your job. You're always going to pick yourself. You should always pick yourself.
Yeah.
You should always pick yourself. So I don't face him. Problem is, I think he wants to be here. I think he realizes that I don't think he's going to unseat Saka anytime soon. I don't think he's going to really unseat Martinelli or Trossard soon. I think he's good. He's not going to be a starter for this club. And he needs to know that. The people representing him need to know that. And I think part of him does need to know that. So I think because everything that I've heard the last few months is he wants to stay. He wants to do everything in his power to stay. So I almost think he's almost willing to take I guess you could say like an El Neni role where like he's happy to be here. He will fight for the club. He's not necessarily the front man, but he's like the front man as far as just happy to be here, pumping the fans up, pumping, everybody up, and just being happy to wear the Arsenal shirt, which is something that El Neni does. But I genuinely think we gave him probably a little less of an offer than he even thought, probably even less than an El Neni deal. Or another team came in and was like, listen, yeah, Arsenal, this is great, but you're just going to be on the bench. You're going to when you see the starting 11, you're going to be in the other side of the team sheet where it says substitutes. That's going to be where you are every week. But you come to us, you come to Brighton, who Brighton are playing great this year, and they're doing things. And I think they're in the right now. They're going to be in the Conference League, or they can even make a play at Europa too. You could play for us. You could start for us. You could actually compete to start. There's no nailed down starters at Brighton. And or someone like a Danny Welbeck, he starts here and there for them. I mean, how much longer does he have there? And they have a few players that I think will get sold. We're interested in Alex McAllister. So obviously I get his name right like a few times in a row, and then I'll just be like in the flow, and I'll just totally I'll think of like cicadas. But anyways,
plague of petulance.
Yeah,
pestilence, not petulance.
At the end of the day, I think he's surveying his options, and at the end of the day, he came from the academy. He wants to swear his loyalty to Arsenal, which is music to my ears. I love to hear it. I love him as a player. I think he's going to be great for this club going forward if he stays. But then, you get home, you take off your training kit, you take off your boots, you put your sweats on, you kind of hanging out in your house, and you kind of sit there and like, well, I know I said all this stuff to the journalists and the media and like how I really want to stay here, and I do, but Brighton's offering me, a team like a Brighton is offering me more money, I'm going to start every week. I think he's in an Iwobi situation right now where I think Iwobi wanted to stay, but they offered us $40 million. He starts Everton went to him like, hey, you're going to start week in, week out. He's like, and he said this on a podcast recently too. I'm not making this up. He definitely said this recently. I don't remember where he was on. He was on a podcast. I think it was with Ian Wright. Yeah, he said it with Ian Wright, and he was like, "It's just an opportunity I can't pass up. It's something I have to do." And I think at the end of the day, when Reece Nelson takes off his Arsenal gear, he sits down and relaxes and really has to think. He's like, "This right move might be better for my career," especially a lot. And also a caveat to this too, which in most major sports isn't a thing. He has to worry. He also, in his mind, has the England national team to worry about because your club has an intricate tie to playing for the World Cup, to playing for the Euros or whatever region, country he's playing in. So I'm sure that's something like, listen, I'm not going to make the England national team if I'm literally coming off the bench every fucking week for Arsenal, or maybe starting against the weakest Champions League team. So I think it's a moment that a lot of these players have to just sit down and actually have to just be real with themselves for a couple minutes, because as much as I would love Reece Nelson to stay, and I think he in his heart is Arsenal, but again, at the end of the day, it's a job, and these players need to make difficult decisions like an Iwobi did.
Okay, I get it. And while you were speaking, I looked it up, and he is 23. So in a sport where they start writing your obituary at 31 years old, I can see why he would want more time. So I'm kind of more, since I last talked, I'm kind of more in your corner. Hopefully we can get a nice chunk of change for him. I'd rather have the Reece Nelsons be leaving than our backups like Tierney. At least those rumors are stopped for now. We really haven't had. I just want to say we really haven't had, so much depth in a while. Hey, I'm talking positive again. Give me credit. And I don't think we should go trading it away. Anyway, so
I think
trading, giving it away.
I'd rather keep Reece Nelson than Tierney. To be fair, that's a hot take.
Wow, that's
we don't have to get too far into the Tierney discussion. He doesn't fit our system. I don't think he plays our. He's a tough, old school style left back, and we don't like when you see Zinchenko. Tierney's not that guy. Tierney will never be that guy, and it sucks because I think Tierney's a fantastic player. And I think he could bring a team like a Newcastle, who's going to be competing with us probably next season, which, they kind of are now, but they're not, he could bring them, he could 100% bring them up a level. And he just doesn't play the football we want him to play. And it's unfortunate because I want him to be
killing me. Wait, BG, just real quick. I'm going to ask a stat geek friend of mine who I love to look up the statistics, because I think Tierney is our best defensive left back. Okay, that's all I want to say. I'm not going to argue with you because we've been through this already, Ryan. But you've moved even more.
Who's our other left back besides Zinchenko?
We got to get Tierney out of here. Anybody got a bag of balls? You can have Tierney. Okay,
I definitely didn't say that, but okay.
BG, go ahead.
Who's our other left back that's in this discussion besides Zinchenko?
Zinchenko gets hurt. Who goes in if we give away Tierney for a bag of balls?
Why? Where do we link with that? What the fuck's his name? That kid from wasn't that team in La Liga? That 18.
No, you're thinking of
right back.
He's in Italy. He's in Italy.
Yeah.
Is it No, it's not Fiorentina. It's I know who you're talking about, and I can't think of it's going to drive me.
I know.
I need you. Yeah. Wait,
here's the thing.
Okay. PG, I need your guys' help, okay? Because I'm in a tent in my backyard, so no one knows that I'm talking on this mic. and I'm surrounded by neighbors. So all I hear is me yelling.
You yelling.
So if my voice gets too loud, please tell me.
Reel you back
Ryan,
always loud.
Freaking agitating me.
The thing with it's a double-edged sword with Kieran Tierney. I agree with everything that Ryan said. He doesn't fit our system, but here's a maybe a different way of looking at things. And I wish that Mikel Arteta would actually watch this show and hear what we had to say, because I think there comes a point in time where being able to switch things up when your system isn't working, whether it be lack of execution from our own players or a a well-planned defensive strategy from our opponent, it's nice to be able to change things up. And Kieran Tierney offers in that position a little bit of a change of pace, both literally and figuratively. I know it's not Arteta's preferred way of playing, and I know why he brought Zinchenko in, because of Zinchenko's ability to drift inside and play almost, when he plays, we almost play in possession a 3-4-3 when we think about it, or even a 2-5-3, because even Ben White likes to really get forward, Tierney leaving to someone like a Newcastle, I could see Newcastle coming in with a 40 or 50 million pound offer, and it's going to be,
that'd be awesome.
And it's going to, and it's going to be a Marlon Brando as Don Corleone, make them an offer they can't refuse. Glenn, I'll just ask you real quick, yes or no, do you sell Kieran Tierney to anyone for 50 million?
Well, that's a ridiculous amount of money, and we can.
That's what I mean. Now, if somebody comes in and says 25, no, you got to go higher than that. But if somebody comes in and says 40 to 50, it's hard to say no to that. I do agree with Glenn that he is the best defensive left back option. And to Ryan's point, like, who else is there? But he is. And look, there are times. This is one of the knocks on Arteta. I've said it before. I'll say it again. One of the knocks on Arteta is the way he uses his subs. He substitutes too late.
Yep.
If we're 3-0 up at the 60-minute mark, fuck it. Park the fucking bus, man. I get I'll sit here and I'll scream from the rooftops, goal differential, goal differential, goal differential. Go get another goal. It's not our job to stop scoring goals. But sometimes these guys need to get in and play, and maybe getting them into play is to say, we're up 3-0, done. We don't need to do anything else. We get the ball back in our own box, boot that fucker long. I don't care.
Yeah.
Sit back and play defense. You know what? Use it as a training session. But we need depth. We need depth. So the question becomes.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. If we sell Tierney, we got to replace him. So there's a fine line to walk there between, and there's a guy who, if you bring him on, and there's a guy that I'll tell you this, I'd have played him against Manchester City. I'm not saying he'd have made a difference, but I'd have played him over Zinchenko against Manchester City.
I already know who you're gonna say.
All right,
and that's to Glenn's point.
I think you're saying another person. I was like,
to Glenn's point about being a better defense. That's why. Glenn, go.
All right, I think it was the Liverpool game. We were up 2-1, and it was really late, and he had Zinchenko in there. The poor guy was tired. He didn't bring in Tierney early enough, and they tied it 2-2. I think that was the Liverpool game. It was one of my grievances against Arteta, but I have turned around on Arteta. I'm just giving a little bit of criticism. That's part of the job. But yeah, so Ryan, all right, let's put aside your Tierney should only play in the Scottish League for a minute, okay? And
what? Huh? I don't.
Oh, by the way, I'm just trying to get you in trouble. By the way, sell him to Newcastle. I don't want to watch Tierney all season long be amazing. Okay. So what I forgot what I was going to say. Go ahead.
I don't know. You're going to ask something. The one thing I will say, yes, he gives us another formation, more different tactics. He offers us a plan B. Problem is, Arteta doesn't do plan, which we'll get into that. But I don't want to change our plan, our formation, our tactics because of Kieran Tierney. I don't think he's that good. I think he. And let's face, I don't know what Glenn's talking about the Scottish League thing. I wanted before we named Odegaard as our captain, I wanted Kieran Tierney as our captain. So I obviously didn't want him going anywhere. Problem is, you bring in a Zinchenko and he evolves the position, and you're kind of like, oh. And we had Tierney who bombs up the left side and just empties crosses in. I don't really like that. Defensively, he's great. I love him. But the problem is, again, this goes to us. We're higher standards, and we're trying to raise the bar a little bit. I would say more games than not. I would say maybe 80%, 90% games. We're gonna have more possession. We're gonna be attacking more. So, do you want Kieran Tierney or do you want Zinchenko? You're always gonna pick Zinchenko, and I get it. Tierney will be backup. No, I get it. So Tierney's the backup. I get that. I'd rather sell him for whatever amount of money. If you're telling me we could sell Tierney now and the money we get from Tierney can go directly into a player who's younger and fits Arteta's system better as a left back, I'm going to take that option all day long. And I think we might even have some money left over. And it's tough. And it's like Tanner said, I think we're gonna make one or two sales this summer that are not. I'm not happy. I want to keep Tierney. I think and then this is a player that's been kind of forgotten for us because he's been pretty much injured. Tomiyasu, when we signed him, he was. I almost had him as player of the year. Last year I thought he was phenomenal. I think Tierney is almost like a Tomiyasu. I think Tierney can get better. I think Arteta gave him a few chances. I don't know. I don't think he really took the opportunity to really get into a Zinchenko type player. I just don't think he has that in him. But he is very good defensively, and I think he could definitely offer us a different plan. I think he's kind of just the opposite of not the opposite. He Tomiyasu be on the right, Tierney on the left. But we also have played Tomiyasu as a left back, and I think it was the first time we played Liverpool when we were at the Emirates. We played Tomiyasu. He didn't have a good run of games. He was playing right back for us. We made him play left back. I think this was like maybe with the first game Zinchenko was hurt. He was amazing. He killed it. And I think Zinchenko, I think Tomiyasu is going to be the backup right back, backup left back. I do think we're going to sign a fullback that suits Arteta's system more. But I don't really think he's too worried about a Zinchenko replacement right now because we do have Tomiyasu, who is definitely a forgotten man these days.
Yes, I understand all that, and I agree with you. There are going to be names that are surprising and a little sad to leave, like Rob Holding and his all of a sudden lush hair. I understand he slept in an Arsenal bed as a kid, or maybe still does. But I'm all for getting a cornerback. Going back to what you were saying before, I think you already realized this, but I'm going to state it again. Before Zinchenko started playing out of his mind, Kevin Tierney was my favorite player, okay? And I recognize he lost his job to Zinchenko and should have lost his job, okay? That's all I'm saying. And please don't start on Tomiyasu because he was my second favorite player. Go ahead. That's it.
Well, as far as that goes, let me throw a curveball here. We're going to eventually start phasing Granit Xhaka out of the first 11. Why wouldn't I know what Ryan is going to say. I mean, and seriously, I don't mean that as in, like you're gonna have some snide comment. I know what your answer would be to this, but
I probably will have some snide comment.
Why wouldn't we start looking at, since he pretty much already plays there now anyway, moving Zinchenko into Granit Xhaka's role and filling in with Kieran Tierney at the back? And maybe seeing if he can't transition a little bit into what Zinchenko does as a left back. If it makes sense. I'm not saying that he go all the way, but what if, we've created a hybrid left back in Zinchenko, right? What if we reel it back in a little bit, but create a hybrid Zinchenko with Kieran Tierney, where he is equally defensive and attack minded, because I think he's the better he's better defensively, and we keep Zinchenko. I think right now, I'll be totally honest with you, I think that might be our best starting 11. If we were to move Zinchenko in for Granit Xhaka and put Tierney at left back, I think, and that is how I would have lined up against City.
Ever since you first mentioned that, it might have been as much as 2 months ago. I've always hoped that Arteta would try to do that. As far as everything I've watched, I don't think he's tried it yet.
No.
But that still doesn't address the problem, BG, that we need to get depth. And I think everybody, all three of us, we might not agree on much today, but don't we all agree that we need another midi right now? At the first thing. Okay, so of course, Ryan, what's our first priority in the summer?
Well, so again, the report where we talked about Reese Nelson rejecting the contract offer, the same report said that our 3 positions that we're going to really go after are an explosive winger, a defensive midfielder, or essential, I think it was essential midfielder, a versatile forward and an explosive winger. What's up, Gary? I miss you, buddy. So yeah, I definitely think it's in the cards for us. But my number one priority, is is probably the Xhaka replacement. I think if we really wanted Zinchenko to play Xhaka's role, I think he'd be playing it already.
I agree with that.
Yeah. I think Kieran Tierney would just simply have more minutes. And yes, he comes on, he subs on for Zinchenko a lot, but again, only when the game's kind of closing the game down, shutting up shop, and
the game is gone.
I don't even want to say
it's losing, but the game is gone.
Yeah, I don't really want to say parking the bus, but he is more defensive than Zinchenko. Yeah. But he is going to bomb forward, so he's still going to do his things in the attacking sense. But yeah, I just I think Zinchenko's always going to be a left back, at least for the time being. I think this left 8 thing is. This left 8 thing, I think I could probably have, I would say probably 2 full podcasts just talking about the left 8 because it's a very interesting position. It's something that it's not. I don't want to say it's not easy to explain, but it's not a really you can't be hey, I want you to put Xhaka's position on if you see a drawing of a pitch, put Xhaka's position on the thing. I don't really think you can. I think it's just a very unique role, and I think we need a unique player for it. And I've always been beating the ESR drum that he needs to play. I think he'll be perfect for it, but he never. I think maybe he came on and played it once, and I think it was earlier in the season before he had the surgery. So I don't think he's looking at it. I think Vieira is kind of going to be that heir, but I haven't seen it. I don't like what I've seen from Vieira enough to put him there, and I don't think. I like Vieira on the right more. I got to be honest. Few times I've seen him on the right, I like him better there. I'm not convinced. So I really think we need a mega signing on that Xhaka replacement, or to be fair, Xhaka or a party. I think it doesn't matter. It's the same. We need a center mid.
All right, that's Gary there. 5 to 10 players. Holy cow, I thought I was negative. And first of all, how can you miss Gary? The dude's on YouTube more than he is in real life. He must carry every time I turn on YouTube, I watch a little bit of Gary live somewhere. So I don't know how you can miss him. Second, 5 to 10 players. I think that's crazy. 2 to 3 players, in my opinion.
Well, and this is also a thing that I sort of about a little later. Kind of a critique I have with Arteta is what's the word I want to? I don't know, for lack of a better word, he doesn't trust enough players that we currently have, and it goes into the subbing. I hate the way he subs. I don't like what he does. We were up 3-0 against Chelsea, who I tweeted this, and I still believe this. That might have been the worst team I've ever seen. That might have been the worst team I've seen play in the Premier League this season. That's definitely the worst team that we've played against this season. They were horrible. They were the worst. It was not even close. They were the worst team we've played this season. And being up 3-0, bring on your ESRs, bring on Eddie, bring on Reese Nelson. This is when you kind of almost you're opening up the floor for hey guys, this is a tryout now. Impress me. This game's over. Chelsea's rolled over. Put in some minutes, or maybe not even impress me. Maybe just hey, Emil, this is minutes for your legs to get you back on the map. Whether it gets you back on the map with me and I find a spot for you, or it gets us more money and other teams looking at you so we could sell you. Same with Reese Nelson, Eddie Nketiah coming off from a pretty lengthy injury. He needs minutes as well, and players like Saka. I was actually a little surprised he started this game for us. Someone like Saka needs a rest. I don't understand how much. He eventually came off, but we also I think our first sub was the 72nd minute. That's to me that's too late. And I think again at the end of the day when we have all these discussions about the subbing and the plan Bs and all that stuff, I think it boils down to he doesn't trust enough players on this roster. And hopefully with Champions League, with more money, he's going to bring more of his players in, and he's going to have to trust. And I think, again, I don't really want to put him into the game too much because I thought we already lost the game before we walked out of the tunnel. Just looking at the lineups and looking at our faces, we were scared. But Pep trusts probably like 15 to 17 players on his team, and we trust like 12. You have a player, and just real quick, this is a quick example. Kyle Walker hasn't been featured in the Man City team for most, if not the entire year. Brings him in just on a whim. Like, I'm bringing Kyle Walker and starting at the time we were the best team in the Premier League. I'm going to bring Kyle Walker, who's been kind of out in the cold and chilling out in the reserves and not really playing. Brings him in and he does a job against us. And you need to have that in your back pocket. You need to have a plan B or just a player that you could bring on that you could trust. And he doesn't have enough of that. And I think that's going to – I'm not saying Arteta is going to fail here. I'm not Arteta out. This is not what I'm saying. But I think if he doesn't sign players quickly or trust players on this team right now quickly, I think it's going to lead to his downfall because this is going to be a problem for us every season. If he's only trusting 12 to 13 players every season, injuries are going to happen every year. There's no way we're going to just be injury free the entire season. So if he doesn't trust people, it's only going to hurt us. So yeah, so to Gary's point of 5 to 10 players, 10 is definitely a little excessive, but 5 to 7,
I'd say 5. Yeah, I'd say
I don't think that's crazy, and it does sound crazy in the fact that like we were top of the Premier League, we're probably gonna finish first or second place. That is fucking nuts when you read that. When I it's funny because when Gary posted that, I looked at it and I was like, what? But then I kind of talked through this and I felt this way about Arteta trusting players for a while. And then you kind of do the numbers, you count on your hands. You're like, yeah, no, 5 to 7 makes all the sense in the world because he needs to trust players. Signing a player and trusting a player for me are two different things. And frankly, to Arteta, it's two different things as well. So I don't necessarily think we need to sign 5 to 10 more players. I think Arteta needs to trust 5 or 10 players. He needs to
develop the trust in 5 to 10 more players.
Right. BG, please give me 30 to 45 seconds. Ryan, perhaps when you're talking about we need players to come off the bench, you should stop comparing Kieran Tierney to Dylan Mulvaney, okay, saying he could play better defense than Tierney, okay?
Who?
I don't know.
Don't even go down that road, Glenn. Don't even go down that road.
So, all right. Stop talking about needing depth and people to come off the bench if you're so ready to give up Tierney.
It's not about needing depth. It's about needing players to trust. It's two different things.
Oh, good Lord. Okay, I'm not getting dragged into this. The other thing is, if I wasn't so miserable about Arsenal bottling this title race, because yes, I believe it's over, okay, I would thoroughly take probably too much satisfaction in all the money that Chelsea spent stealing Mudryk from us. Oh, by the way, thanks. And, just Aubameyang being on the team. I would be over the moon if I wasn't so upset about Arsenal bottling this race right. I would be to all Chelsea fans like Daniel Day-Lewis. I drink your milkshake. I would so be like that. But you know what? We fucked up this title race.
We didn't, Glenn.
I told you guys to tell me if I talk too loud.
I was just trying to, and you shushed me.
Yeah.
All right. And
I said to you before too, but
the other thing I take away from the Arsenal Chelsea game, I don't know if you guys saw this, but it went viral. A picture of Aubameyang coming off the field or going on the field, looking like he's about to cry, and then he commented on that little piece of film saying, yeah, sometimes you don't, I'm paraphrasing, don't know what you have till it's gone. That's not what he said, but he said something similar to that. And that's the two things I take away from Chelsea.
So that's funny because that's what I too. That was when they were about to kick off for the
game. Okay.
and I think the crowd was singing North London Forever, and it looked like I didn't take that as he was trying to cry. It looked like he was trying to smile. He was biting his lips so he wouldn't smile because
okay.
I mean, yeah,
that would make more sense.
That was crazy though that our bombing started for them against us. But I again I think this is another discussion we could have for an entire show. But I think for me the biggest thing I'm grouping this in obviously with departures and signings and everything is Arteta needs to trust more people because that's just the key to us unlocking everything. If he could trust more people, we could compete in Champions League and the Premier League. I mean, you look at the season, and everyone and Tony, you said it like, oh, I wanted to win the Europa League, and I won top 4, and it sucks we didn't win a trophy. Yeah, I agree. I wanted to win the Europa League and top 4 too. That was my goal. But once,
no, don't worry. That's okay.
once we were actually in this title race, and it's like, oh my god, like we're like 5 to 8 points clear of City. Yes, games in hand, but still, we were still in the lead. We weren't looking like we were letting up. And Arteta was still only trusting 5 to 12 players. At some point, you have to be like, all right, I guess the Europa League kind of has to kick the can because you can't successfully with this team. And I mean, maybe there's a team that can prove me wrong, but I don't think you can in world football. You can compete in 2 very high prestigious competitions at the same time with 11, 12 players. You just can't. And we tried doing that, and what happened? Saliba. But we're lucky if he comes back. Tomiyasu's done.
He's not coming back.
He's not coming back. Oh, so
wait. Tomiyasu's not coming back this season from injury, or you think he's leaving the club?
No.
He's not coming back from injury.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
We in one game we have 2 catastrophic, and yes, I would consider Tomiyasu a catastrophic injury. I think Tomiyasu could have been one of Arteta's trusted confidants, and that would have helped us. I think he would have definitely helped us in the City game, but I think he would have helped us in these run of games where we kind of needed a little defensive stability and a little a player. For me, Tomiyasu is a player that just will win every duel possible. And a problem that we have is when we're not in games and we don't look like we're at it, we just don't win duels. We're second to every ball. And that happened against Southampton, happened a little bit with West Ham. There's a third game in there where I wasn't really happy with our duels. I don't remember, but Tomiyasu would have been that guy. I think they would have helped us out and kind of took us up a notch. So I think that trusting more players is huge. Whether we bring them in or they're in our squad, that's completely that's another story.
Yeah, I mean it's something that I think Arteta has to come to grips with if we're going to take that final step. I mean, I think we're knocking on the door right now. But I think part of the key to unlocking that door or kicking it in, one of the two, is going to be his trust of the players that he brings in, the players that he has on the bench, that don't get a regular starting 11 spot. And, if we're going to build this club in the same vein as Manchester City and Pep have built theirs, with the exception of the way we acquire the players, like you said, Pep, everybody on Pep's bench, he trusts, I don't know that I could name a player on City's bench today that he doesn't trust. When I'm not sure I could. And he's not afraid to, it's like, if you're going to get a shirt, then two things. If you're going to get a shirt on match day, as the player, you better be ready to go in and do the job at the drop of a hat. And if you're the manager, you better be ready to put that player in and trust that he's going to do the job at the drop of a hat. I think the players are ready. Whether they're good enough or not, it's a separate discussion. But I agree wholeheartedly. I don't think Arteta trusts Emile Smith-Rowe. I don't think he trusts.
Now, the ESR thing is interesting because this also could be a thing where when Martinelli had that big knee injury and he came back, Arteta did not play Martinelli for months. And everyone was like, what happened? Is Martinelli leaving? Like, what's going on? Does he not trust him? And like all this stuff. And everyone was freaking out over the Martinelli thing. I think this could be a very similar thing where he's been hurt all the time. Emil Smith Rowe. He had this big surgery that everyone's saying like, well, if this heals correctly and properly, he's going to be fine. Hopefully, he's not hurt anymore. It was a huge surgery for his development, just as a man, just as a human being, and as a footballer. So, I'm hoping that that's the case. I'm hoping Arteta's just kind of like playing the Martinelli long game, where he's like, just keep him out. But like to me, again, it's very frustrating. You're up 3-0 against the worst team in the Premier League, and right now I believe Chelsea's the worst team in the Premier League. They've lost 6 straight games. You can't give ESR like 20 minutes. Like you can't like maybe play him in Xhaka's role. You can't like what these last 20 minutes. I don't like it's very robotic to me how he's like, I don't trust you, you're not going on. I don't care if it's 10-0.
It would fall under the category of, if you could ask Arteta one question about this season right now, what would it be? For me, it would be, what is your rationale with substitutes? Because I don't get it.
And but then he brings in ESR. I kind of get to bring on ESR 3-0 when we're 3-0 down in Man City, when he's like, will hopefully get us a goal. But it's like, again, we don't know what this is. Does he not trust ESR, or is he going down the Martinelli long injury tunnel where he's just not playing him like he did with Martinelli? I don't know what it is, but you don't give him any minutes when we're up 3-0 against Chelsea, but you're gonna throw him on when we're getting just absolutely just bitch slapped by Man City. I don't know. I think that's something that's very, very interesting.
I don't disagree with a lot of what you are saying, but I'm gonna give you a counterpoint. Okay, I think ESR, due to his injuries, also has not had that moment like Nketiah has had when Jesus went down and we were all like, we are so effed. And he had his moment. Manchester United is the first thing that comes to my mind. That game we watched together, Ryan. I don't think ESR has had that moment yet where he can step in and just show, hey, you better start thinking about me starting these effing games. You know what I mean?
It's a problem, too, because I don't think he will, because ahead of him is Trossard. Ahead of him is now Reece Nelson. But then again, if Reece Nelson doesn't sign, and we know Reece Nelson is going out the door in these last 4 games, maybe that'll be an interesting indicator. If all of a sudden now it comes out of the work that Reece Nelson is rejecting the contract offer, and maybe Reece Nelson is talking to a bunch of other teams and he's now interested in moving, maybe we will see ESR now. I don't know, but yeah, it's so funny. I was like thinking about that earlier in the show. I was like, if I had to ask Arteta one question, if I had to know one question, it would just be like, I don't know. I would probably get a little more specific as to far as like trusting. But I mean, yeah, I think at the end of the day, I think that would be my question, because I'd want as much information and
that's it's just
as
very
possible,
broad and vague.
Because
I wouldn't want to zone in on one specific element of his I'll say what's his MO with substitutes, like just what's in your brain. I want to know what goes into making that decision. Some of the things we already know, score line, time remaining, fitness, home or away, who are the opponent. I get all of that, but I'm in the same boat as I think a lot of us when ESR can't get a sniff against Chelsea when we're up 3-0.
And Gary brought up a good point. He was our number 2 scorer last season, and it should carry weight, but it shouldn't carry weight. And Arteta actually brought that up in one of his conferences, where it's like, it's not what have you done for me yesterday, it's what have you done for me today? What have you done for me? What are you gonna do for me tomorrow? But again, I think at the end of the day, and again, this is just my whole thing about Arteta that's like, I don't want to say concerning. Well, no, I am very concerned, even though we're second place. So I'm not trying to get too negative, but he needs to trust more players. If we want to stay in Champions League and we want to compete in the Premier League, he's got to trust more players. And I want to say that's the reason why we have all these questions. He just doesn't trust the players.
I dare say, if you wanted to zone in on if you were going to pin anything on Arteta specifically for us not winning the league this year, I think his lack of rotation and his lack of trust in certain players, and whatever you want to say about his substitution methods, that would be it. Because there are games where I feel like Reese Nelson probably should have started in the league. Maybe he starts against a Bournemouth. ESR, the same thing. He's throwing, Fabio Vieira in there, and I don't see anything from him. Meanwhile, he was supposed to be, the next best thing since sliced bread when he came in. And he's young and it's his first year. I'm not saying that won't happen, but when I look at what Manchester City do, and let's face it, especially given where Arteta cut his coaching teeth, that's the blueprint for us. At least in terms of play style and match day, I'll say habits, if you will. But Pep doesn't have a problem with rotating his starting 11. He'll play the best starting 11 that he feels gives him the best. He'll play the 11 that he feels gives him the best chance to win that day. But he's got 18 players that he can pick and choose from that he feels on any given day are going to give him the best chance to win, which is why Phil Foden will get a shout here and there. Phil Foden's a great player. Don't misunderstand me. Kyle Walker, like Ryan mentioned earlier, Kyle Walker's a damn good footballer. When he comes in, he does the job. There's not a huge drop off. I don't even know who took over. He was what, their right back? He's a right back, right? Kyle Walker?
Yes. I'm sorry.
Whatever. I don't know who the fullback is that he kind of lost his starting job to. But for Arteta, there needed to be more rotation in the league this year than what he was willing to go with. And I get that you kind of say, look, the superstitious side of me, which is very prevalent, you stick with if it's not broke, don't fix it. Right? Baseball analogy. If you're throwing that slider down and away and they're swinging at it, keep throwing it. For those who understand baseball.
Maybe that's him too, because if it ain't
that's what I mean.
I don't know.
I think he sees
still stupid though. We still have more players that we need to get more,
and they need playing time.
Players. Yeah.
And they need time because, and again, we go back to trust. Well, if they don't play, then they don't get an opportunity to earn your trust. So
and then they just leave, like potentially a Reese Nelson.
Potentially an ESR, potentially a Kieran Tierney. Whether we want all of that, we want them to stay or not. And my brother checking in, go Buccos. But yeah, if you're not going to play, if Arteta doesn't trust you, and you don't, and he won't play you because he doesn't trust you, then how does he come to earn your trust? And we're not on the training pitch, so we don't see what goes on there on a daily basis. But training and match are two very different things. You don't simulate match speed, right? You don't simulate match intensity, and so if he's not going to play these guys in a meaningful match, and all 38 matches in the league are meaningful, then then how do they earn his trust? It's a never-ending cycle.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. We're not a fly on the wall. It wasn't that long ago we were saying, why isn't he playing Pepe? Well, now we know because Pepe sucks. But we know ESR doesn't, though. I'm not saying that, Ryan. I'm not saying that.
No, I know.
We don't know. We don't know, but it's partially his. It's partially his. You heard that?
Yeah,
I whispered that.
Yeah, you've been yelling all show, Glenn.
Yeah, the mic is sensitive, Glenn. It'll pick up a lot.
Look, I forgot my point. This happens every year. Just hopefully ESR stays because I really, he has that FIFA thing. I like to say he has that something special. I don't want to see him go.
I just love how he wears his shin guards really low. I wear my shin guards really low when I play, so I feel like
at the end
BG,
of the day,
I have to go. So can we wrap this up?
Yeah, go ahead. Give me your final thought because I actually need to run as well. So.
Oh, I don't. I'm not even going to be happy when they strip Manchester City of their last few titles and give it to us. That's not what I wanted. We should have won this thing, and I'm still bitter about it. I'm sorry to end on a negative note like that, but that's all I got.
Ryan,
I mean, I'm kind of happy we can talk about the Chelsea game a lot, and this is also a great discussion. I could probably keep going about the same things we've been talking about, but we'll probably be talking in circles eventually. But yeah, the Chelsea game, I'll just quickly touch upon that. They were terrible. I know. I mean, I did touch upon it earlier. I don't want to have a discussion about this, but my hot take, it was great to have 3 points. We did not play well, and I'm including the first half as well. We didn't play well. I think Chelsea are just simply that bad, and the 3 goals we scored were nice. They were, but if you really break it down and look at it and go frame by frame, Chelsea just let us almost score those goals. They're still great goals. Do not get me wrong. I'm happy we scored. I'm happy with 3 points, but I don't think we were that great. But 3 points, I'm happy, and I'm hoping Arteta will trust a few players, because I know we're gonna make signings, because again, we talked about it. Champions League is a big fucking deal, and we're gonna not only the money. You guys talked about the money. I think it's a little more, in my opinion, more important is just it's something for the portfolio, something for the resume. It's gonna attract players to come here. We have Champions League. We're competing for the title with Man City. So I think we're going to be able to get a wider variety and range of players. So I think that's going to help us tremendously. And hopefully Arteta gets the guys he wants and brings them in, because, like I said, at the end of the day, he needs to trust. I'm sorry I keep saying it, but he just needs to, if we want to compete in both leagues, he needs to trust more players.
BG, I want to add one more thing to my final thoughts. Ryan, I love you. Look up quickly in the dictionary. Okay, BG, go ahead.
Yeah, good discussion. And I actually agree with Ryan on the Chelsea match, by the way. I did not. I was. It's one of those things where, you look at it, you're like, okay, yeah, we scored and it's great, and don't misunderstand me, but we didn't play well, and I do think that Chelsea were that bad. I agree with everything you said there. I mean, okay, I don't think we were terrible.
No, we weren't.
I just don't think we played as well as crisp and as sharp as we've played in the past. But anyway, my final thought's going to be what it's been. If anybody can spare a dime or a nickel for the GoFundMe for Kenzie, we're still a little bit short on our target. We could really use the help in trying to get her this scan done and the subsequent surgery if it is in fact possible. So if you can spare anything there, the link will be in the description to the video. I also did post it in a comment. You'd have to write it down and then go to the GoFundMe. But anything that you could spare would be greatly appreciated. Thank you all so much for that.
BG, you have to send me that link, because I'm a mess right now. So please send me that link.
I will. Thank you, Glenn. And everybody that was in the chat: Sam, Gary, Bronx Gunner, Russ, my brother Chris showed up late, better late than pregnant. But everybody else watching live, everybody catching us on replay, it was a damn good chat, and like I said, hopefully we will be getting more of these more consistently. Again, it's just a lot.
I hear footsteps. I have to
go, and there he goes. But again, thank you everybody for being a part of it. I guess that's trying to think if we missed anything. I think that's it. So all right. Come on, you Gunners. Ryan, anything else? This was an awful exit, by the way. We're out of here. See you on the flip side.